I realize I am extremely late to reviewing this movie. My apologies. However, with both Oscar season, the award season with the Oscars this Sunday, and Black History Month coming to a close this weekend, I thought it would be a great idea to finally check out Hidden Figures, and I'm really glad I did. So Hidden Figures is directed by Theo Malfi, and it stars Janelle Monáe, Octavia Spencer, and Taraji P. Henson as three African American women mathematicians at NASA. That's right, yeah. I don't think anyone ever heard of these women before this movie, but that's the point of the movie. It's a double entendre. Hidden Figures as in the people, and Hidden Figures as in the actual math they're doing to contribute to the launching of certain space missions. So Hidden Figures picks up in the 1960s segregation / Cold War era, where we're competing with the space race with Russia. As soon as they get Sputnik and other aircrafts out of the air, it really shows how worried NASA was when Russia was staying one step ahead of the game. So Hidden Figures basically follows the contributions they made during this endeavor with NASA. And I gotta say, I really enjoyed this movie. First of all, it's very well casted. Taraji P. Henson, in particular, she gave a very strong performance as Katherine Johnson. She's like the leading mathematician that the movie focuses on. And also, Octavia Spencer and Janelle Monáe hold their own very well. Janelle Monáe plays an aspiring engineer. She wants to be the first Negro engineer at NASA, and Octavia Spencer is basically striving to be the first African American supervisor in her quarters at NASA. She has her own little sect of black engineers that she works ahead, but she's basically trying to be the overall supervisor, the first black overall supervisor. And this movie also has a great supporting cast. Kevin Costner does a great job of playing Taraji P. Henson's boss. He was the one, in case white people are watching this movie feeling so guilty about how they were treating black people back then, Kevin Costner is that one little ray of hope that says, okay, not all white people were like this, guys. They had a heart for black people. They didn't all treat them like crap. It's okay. I really enjoy Kevin Costner's performance in this movie. Also, Mahershala Ali is in this movie as Taraji P. Henson's love interest. I really enjoyed him in Moonlight, and he gives a pretty good performance here as well. Also, this is the first... Kirsten Dunst is in this movie also. I noticed that early on. This is the first post-Spider-Man movie. I see Kirsten Dunst in it. It's like, wow. It's like you've aged, in the past 10 years, it's like you've aged a day and 10 years at the same time. That's weird. Anyway, the point being that I absolutely love this cast. They did a great job. Also, I love this movie. It's a very realistic portrayal of the racism and segregation that was during that time. It really put me in the time period, and it made me really appreciate how far we've come as a society and how basically our ancestors, people before us, strived to have the rights we did now. I really appreciated how the movie is family friendly. It's PG, and it does so. It realistically shows you the racism of the time in a family friendly way, without being overtly cruel, overtly brutal. Like Taraji P. Henson's character, she of course, with all the blank stares and hateful stares as soon as she sets up shop in her desk, to the separate coffee pots they set up for her just for being colored, to the fact that she had to walk 1.5 miles just to use the bathroom every day. They had a great scene, by the way, in which, this is why I say Taraji P. Henson had the best performance of the movie, because there's this scene in this movie where she just snaps. She just can't handle it. And her supervisor is like, where have you been all day? And she's like, well, you gotta admit the fact that there's no bathroom for me here. I have to walk 1/2 mile to go to the bathroom every day. You guys hatefully stare at me. You don't accept me. You don't treat me right. You make a separate coffee pot for me. And it was just a very emotional and well-acted scene. I really appreciate it. So yeah, that's why I like how not only this realistic, family-friendly portrayal of the segregation era, but how the movie's very good at balancing So it's ultimately, although the three engineers, they're really friends and they say a win for one of us is a win for all of us, they really have different jobs that they're all in NASA, but they all have different regions, different sects of the job that they're trying to mobilize in. And it's really interesting how the movie, sometimes it montages through it, but I thought it did a good job overall of balancing the story between the three characters, like Janelle Monáe, her being an engineer, Catherine Taraji P. Henson's character being the main mathematician. So the main issue in the movie is that they don't have the right math to have the right calculations to effectively launch and land a spacecraft, and that's where her character comes in. So yeah, I really liked how they balanced all three characters. As far as my gripes of this movie, what I didn't really like, it took me an hour to find one thing I didn't like, so that's pretty good. One thing I didn't like is that it's pacing when it's talking about when it's showing the family dynamic of the characters, the pacing was really off. It really slowed down the movie. It felt like it bogged down the movie a bit, which is understandable because when a movie like this, you have to show that these characters had lives apart from work. But those were the least enjoyable scenes of the movie for me, and I felt like the movie was at its best when it's focusing on the three of them at NASA. And there's this the most grotesque example of this is about midway through the movie where Mahershala Ali is trying to really bond with Taraji P. Henson's character, and it's like a 45-second to a minute scene where they're like washing dishes and such, and then it quickly goes, after they kiss enough, it quickly goes back to their work scene, and I was like, okay, I wasn't even that invested with the scene to begin with, and now you're going back to the NASA stuff, which I wanted, but at the same time, it felt like it slowed. The transition between it was not really well done, and it felt like it slowed the movie down. But other than that, that's really a small gripe overall. I really enjoyed this movie. I'm going to give Hidden Figures 4 out of 5 stars. If you haven't seen it to this point, like me, what are you doing? It's great. Go watch it. It's a great movie, especially during Black History Month. I really appreciate it. As I said, the sacrifices, just a great reminder with this movie of the sacrifices that have been made among black people to give us the rights we have now. That's right. This movie does a great job of showing that African American history is American history all the same. It was great to see that on screen. Alright guys, thanks for watching my review of Hidden Figures, and enjoy the Oscars this Sunday. And I'm out for now.